we change the channel and we start our conversation on our neighborhood watch. So, as many of you might know, there has been an alarming increase in car thefts and break-ins related to car thefts, as well as carjackings. And anyone who's gone through that would know how traumatizing it is, because when you are robbed, I think you're not just robbed of whatever items are taken, but your sense of safety, which is harder to get back than anything else. So, you know, it is believed that the safest neighborhoods are the ones where people know each other, because then you know who shouldn't be there when they're around. Like, you can, because not everyone knows their neighbors, right? So if you're intentionally getting to know your neighbors, then you can check in on each other. And, the people who are the fastest to respond to you, who can get to you the fastest in a pinch, are actually your neighbors. Like, currently our police response time is 18 to 22 minutes for a level 1 emergency, which is not ideal. It's something we're trying to improve with the police service, but I have heard of situations where neighbors really helped in a critical moment because they have a connected network that they're already part of. So that's why we have this meeting today. And I think Molly is going to share the land acknowledgement, and for those who are just joining us, and then we will go through the agenda, and then we will introduce our guest speaker.
Thank you, Councillor Chang. I think I will need to have access to share my screen if
Okay,
that's
go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you. We acknowledge the land we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples. It is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. Thank you. All right, so now I'll just go over our agenda quickly. Is it visible to you guys?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So we do have Dee Dee, our guest speaker here today, and I'll introduce her in a bit, but we will be doing a bit of an icebreaker, and then Dee Dee will be sharing an overview of what a neighborhood watch group is, why is it beneficial to our community, and how we can actually set the group up. And then we'll have time for Q&A. And at the end, we'll do a lucky draw for 2 winners. So for those who RSVP'd through our Wix website, there was in the registration form, there was an option for you to check yes or no to a chance to win $100 gift card towards the Neighbourhood Watch or Neighbourhood Watch block or building party. And for those who had clicked yes, we have put your name into a draw that we will spin the wheel and pick a name. But if you hadn't had a chance to do that, you can let me know. You can put your name in the chat and say, I'd like to put my name in, and we'll make sure that you're in that draw. So I just want to acknowledge that Metro and Loblaws, Metro Church Avenue and Loblaws Empress Walk has generously donated $100 gift cards. So we will draw 2 winners with those gift cards. And I also want to thank Dee Dee for joining us as a speaker and also introduce her. So she is joining us as the community champion of so many neighborhood watch groups, and she has a lot of expertise and experience on forming Neighbourhood Watch, how to catalyze this movement and really take community safety into the neighborhood and the residents' hands as well. So yeah, if you could, for those who are putting your name in, if you could put your first and last name, please, and I will put your name in. But yeah, now I'll just pass it over to Dee Dee, and I'll let her introduce herself, if that's okay.
Sorry, we're going to do icebreakers first.
Oh, yeah, sure. Sorry.
Sorry, if you can stop sharing, that'd be great.
Yes.
Okay, so I thought it'd be fun to find out who here has ever borrowed something from their neighbor. Because like once upon a time, you could go borrow sugar or something. So I would love to hear if you have and what did you borrow. So please put up your hand if you've borrowed something from your neighbor and tell us what it was. Natasha.
I borrowed a plunger as soon as I got to my house, as soon as we bought the house, and my kids were very young, infant and toddler. My husband has work, and then I had the clogged sink, so I just went to the neighbor and bought the plunger. I had
Nice.
to get the plumber to come afterwards and break the walls and everything, but I did that at least.
That's great. Okay, has anyone else borrowed something from a neighbor before? Akma or AC Ama?
It's Albert.
Albert.
Yes, I had to borrow once a snow shovel. Mine broke, and instead of going to the store, I thought it was much easier calling the neighbor, and that was very helpful.
Nice. Eva? Eva Lowe?
Hi, sorry. I
That's okay.
borrowed a softball because we were trying to play softball on the street and comes to realize I can't find it in my messy garage. So softball it was.
Nice, nice. Martin?
I didn't borrow anything, but I lent my neighbor some onions, and then she gave me back some hot dogs and burgers. So that was awesome.
Oh, that's a good exchange. Anyone
The
else?
better end of that deal.
Anyone else borrow something from their neighbor?
Hey, this is Jacob. I could go.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how to raise my hand. I'm sorry about that.
That's okay.
So what haven't I borrowed? Sheesh. I haven't had. I'm serious. I love my neighbors. I don't know. Sheesh. I borrowed. Okay, most recently, I've asked for laundry detergent, which we only found a little bit, but then I did find my laundry detergent. Laundry card, keys for sure. I asked my neighbor to watch my plants while I go to Texas on vacation sometimes, which is amazing. Um, sheesh. They give me they've definitely give me $20 or like change for coffee if I need. But also the coffee shop down the street gives me coffee when I need.
Oh.
Okay, Jacob, where do you live? I want to be very careful around you.
No, I mean, see, interestingly enough, I live at Finch and Dufferin. So I'm just outside the borders, but like I'm super fascinated with society.
So we're safe. We're safe. You're far
you're
enough.
safe. You're all safe.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
east, west, yeah.
I'd happily lend you some coffee.
Oh, Lily, he can take it. He's a man. I'm just joking.
You know, yeah, sharing is caring. I
Yeah.
also try to, yeah, whenever anybody needs, I try to, give what I can as well.
Anyone else have a lending or borrowing story from your corner of the world?
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'll just share. I remember growing up, we had a cottage in the Kawarthas, and all the cabins shared a party line, telephone line. So there was about 5 or 6 lines per sort of section on the lake, and each line had their own ring. So you could, if you heard your neighbor calling, you could pick up and you could listen to their conversation. So the only way to tell was if your ring was your sort of special ring. But that was a level of trust between neighbors for sure. You weren't picking up each other's phone calls. So that's party lines.
Yeah. Oh, that seems like another era.
Hi, it's Ed Martin calling. My neighbor is 92 years old, but he's in perfect health. We actually trade garden plants. So, for example, he tends to grow bitter melon and some of these exotic Asian vegetables. And I, in turn, go to Costco and I buy some of the big, the 6-pack vegetables, which I don't need all of them. So I give him some, and he gives me his beans. So actually, we have a very good combination. And I would feel that gardening. When I have a lot of herbs, for example, mint and that, which I tend to throw away. But I would suggest that on your environment day, we can bring in some of our plants and give it to people who want them.
That's a great idea.
I just have one question, which may not be related to this to the security thing, but in a way, it's indirectly. We have. I live in Newton Brook East, and there's large tennis courts there in the in Lillian School yard. The problem is at night they don't have any light there, so people walk from Willowdale Avenue onto the Bayview side, and it's very dark. What I'm thinking is they tend to switch the lights depending on who is playing tennis that night. So I was wondering if just putting a light there would have been a feasible solution, and how I can go about, say, championing in that.
So please email my office. Everything starts with an email, and your constituency representative is here with us, Atife Javadian. So she will take that. She will, see what the feasibility is and how we can action that. Furthermore, in 2026, we're doing participatory budgeting for Newton Brook East. So if we're not able to find a solution, then we could use participatory budgeting process to maybe get some of the funding to get the lights there. Because the problem is and it sounds like maybe it wouldn't be a problem in Lillian Park if there's already lights at the tennis court, but in some parks it's hard to pull the hydro, and it's very expensive to create something out of nothing. Anyone else want to share about a neighbor borrowing? Natasha has another one to share.
No, I actually wanted to respond to Ed about the plants he said. I don't know, Ed, if you know about the Norfolk Gardening Club, because that's a good place to connect to do that. If you attend their meetings or become a member, they have emails that they send out, and they do this plant exchange. So you can actually summarize it in the category of those who are interested in gardening, and you don't have to have a garden. If you have a balcony, if you like plants, if you have pots in your home, whatever, people can attend. And they also provide information about pop-up gardens, that someone has something nice in their garden, they would just post it and say, do you want to come and see Sunday? I'll open my backyard. So if you want to talk about connected community, they have these things happening. It's in Norfolk area. You can get in touch with me later and I can give you more information, because I don't want to take Lily's time.
Yeah, or you can put your email in the chat, or the garden's website in the chat.
Okay, okay, thanks.
So I'll just share quickly about something that I borrowed from my neighbor, and it was something I didn't even know existed. So what happened was, I'm a pandemic gardener. I never gardened before, and I grew. A neighbor walked by and gave me a plant. So I planted it, and then it grew, and then it grew more, and it climbed the fir tree that was in my front lawn, because my garden is in my front yard. And it grew so high, and it started to grow these long, I think they're Italian kind of a melon type thing. It's like long, it's like a zucchini, but it's not a zucchini. And the tree looked like it was growing them, but they were so high that I didn't know, and it was not easy to figure out how to get a ladder because there's an elevation there. So anyhow, one of my neighbors had a tool. He said, oh, you look like you need this special tool I have. I said, oh, what is this special tool? And it was this long thing that can cut things. So it's like you extend it and then you snap, but then, somebody has to be positioned to catch the melon so that no one dies when it's falling. So it's quite the experience of cutting this long thing. And it grew so many that my family got sick of eating them. And we gave them out to everybody. And like people would be walking by my house. I'd be like, hey, do you want this long random vegetable that I don't know what it's called? People would walk away with this giant, but I stopped growing that. So I'm not growing that this year, but it was a great adventure. The plant came from a neighbor and the tool to harvest it was borrowed from a neighbor. So, okay. So thank you for all those who participated. I think it's so wonderful just to hear how, we're still connected to our community through things like borrowing things. Our wonderful speaker, you might have seen her on Global News, and then we did also share the link where she was interviewed. She has spearheaded dozens upon dozens of neighborhood watch clusters across the city. And she has generously offered her time to our community to share how she started hers, how she has helped others start theirs, and what a neighborhood watch group can accomplish together. So everyone, please give a warm welcome to Dee Dee Cameron.
Thank you. Can you all hear me? Yes.
You can.
Okay,
Good.
great. So yeah, just in case you didn't see the video, there's been a few media interviews, but in 2017, unfortunately on a Saturday around noon, there was an awful event that happened, and I happened to walk by it, where a young girl in her 20s was slashed across the neck and stabbed in the chest. And everybody in our neighborhood, kind of panicked and was like, oh my God, what is this? Is this a serial killer or what is it? And instead of jumping to conclusions, I just went right to our 53 division and I asked, what's happening? What can we tell people? Because everybody's worried. And, within 24 hours, the police were able to tell us it was probably a one-off. And, I spoke to quite a few officers, some crime prevention officers, some major crime unit officers, and we talked about how I could communicate this to my immediate neighbors. And having been in sales and technology my whole life, I wanted something that was going to be easy and efficient. So I quickly decided that I was going to do something online, just with the few blocks around me, and share with them what the police had told me, which was this was most likely a one-off. There's nothing to worry about, but you know what? Let's start a neighborhood watch group so we can share about things. So I went door to door that Sunday afternoon with my kids. I handed out my email address and I said, this is what we're doing. I'm starting an online neighborhood watch group. It's about being safe, being aware, and communicating. So those three words are on everything I say and everything I do. And I said to my neighbors, because not everybody always wants to be part of these groups, if you want to join, email me. And I said that because then when I got home, I just I would just copy their emails and put it into my group instead of manually entering them. So it was a lot easier for me. And by that Sunday night, I probably had 70 neighbors. And probably within 2 weeks, I had 150 households. And my neighborhood watch was up and running. One thing I tell everybody when we're talking about these neighborhood watch groups is it is to create meaningful partnerships in our neighborhoods through trust of these emails and posts, understanding, shared knowledge, and effective community mobilization to maintain safety and security in our communities, which we all know right now we need for lots of different reasons. When I started it, I said, just for fun, I'm going to actually Google what the word, or Wikipedia or Oxford English Dictionary, what community means. And it's a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. So we all had a goal, and my particular goal for this Neighborhood Watch group was going to be safe, communicate, and beware. So the group was up and running. I chose Google Groups because it makes it easy for groups of people, such as neighbors, to communicate and to collaborate. I make a post, and through all the emails that everybody's given me, the whole group gets an email or a post. I call it a post, but it is through your email. Nobody knows who's in the group. Nobody has other emails. It's private, and it's very easy for me to do. I could do it with 10 people. I can do it with 3,000 people. So you send an email to everyone in the group at the beginning. You invite them to a group or an event. You share documents, you share photos, you share videos. And this is great because we quickly can access what's happening in our streets. There's a lot of different options. So there's an owner or a manager of the group. They create the group. I'm using the word owner and manager because that's what Google Group uses, but it's whoever wants to start the group. And you're invited by email, or you can be directly added. It's up to you. And I like to encourage all the Neighborhood Watch groups across the city to have a welcome message that is welcome to the, whatever your group is called, Neighborhood Watch community. Please use this forum to discuss neighborhood security, local criminal incidents, suspected criminal activity, and crime prevention measures. So it's really great. You get a group going, you're up and running, and you start making posts. And this, my group started in 2017. We've had groups, posts on, well, obviously car thefts, cars stolen. We've had break and enters. We've even had drug deals. We've had assaults by gunpoint. I do try and have some positive posts. I communicate a lot with our 53 division. So quite often we get crime prevention tips. If our division is having an open house, which they happen to be having in 2 weeks, we make posts on that. Often, there is some arrests made or success in these investigations. So we share that. Obviously, we share a lot of photos. We share videos. I like, anything from scams to those porch pirates, anything, different areas have different, issues in them. So it really depends on what your area is and what it's going through. So the purpose of these online groups, as I said before, is to share topics on criminal activities and advise community members of some crime prevention techniques. This is key. I will come back to that. Introduce crime prevention officers, community officers as a resource for safety audits for your house. We have officers that will come to your house, your neighborhoods, do town halls. They'll give you tips for your particular neighborhoods. And I also like to have those officers on hand because they will validate crimes. Sometimes, unfortunately, people can exaggerate things, and I do not want to create hype or fear with these posts. So if something doesn't seem right, I'll just send a quick text or email to one of my officers at our division and say, look, someone has said this has happened. Have you heard this before? Twice since 2017, they said, you know what, we've never heard of that before. Don't make that post. So you naturally do create wonderful relationships with your own officers in your divisions, which is great. It is important to realize that the police rely on the members of our community to be the eyes and the ears for them. So often I encourage people to get those Ring doorbells or whatever, I did Ring. It's cheap, it's cheerful, it's easy, it's Wi-Fi. It's worked really well in our neighborhood. Some people can get the, really, really expensive things. Quite often they can't then go and capture the pictures, which is a bit ironic. But those videos, those pictures are really helpful to police. And, we just blast them to the divisions, and then our contacts will then forward those to the major crime units, the video crime units. And we may never hear about it again, but we know we're sending a lot of great evidence. So I have offered Google Groups introductions, training, and help other neighbors to do startups. It's really easy. I can do it from anywhere in the world. It's great. I recommend that you have 1 or 2 or even 3 owners or managers, because if someone does go on holiday, they kind of like to be on holiday, and then the other person can make a post if something happens in your neighborhood. But what's great about Google Groups is there's an archive of all postings. So I started my group in 2017. If you join my group today, you can go back into the Google group and look at all the postings that I've made, and they're searchable. You can search whatever, and they're all there, and they're all in the private group. Again, it is one-way easy emails. I have set my settings so that I don't get responses from people. I'm doing this as a one-way notification. I don't want people's opinions or thoughts. I don't want to get involved with politics. I am just stating the facts. And, if people want to do something with them, then they can contact me separately, or their officers, their divisions. But it is one-way emails. It's strictly criminal activity, suspicious activity, nothing to do with advertising or promoting social events, or the parks. We have street fairs. It's nothing at all. I'm very strict about the rules. It's private. The login's not to be shared. I went door to door, so I kind of knew everybody that was in my group, but that was 2017. People have come and go. So I kind of like to encourage a rule that it's either you know them or one of the neighbors knows them, sort of like maybe 3 degrees of separation. There are some rules that I have learned the hard way. Never interfere with any police investigations. So you cannot take information that perhaps you have learned and make a post. I really encourage people not post publicly any information about any evidence. So if we do have someone that we see, I quite often will blur out the face, the address, names, license plates, because criminals do have privacy rights. But it's amazing how you can still capture somebody even though their face is blurred out, because you can recognize their walk or what they're wearing or their knapsack or their shoes, their Adidas shoes or whatever. We do keep all victims a priority. I often will talk to victims and say, hey, what have you learned? What can we share? What are you comfortable with? I use intersections. I do not post addresses, and I never say names. And often we have these community police liaisons in our divisions. I think you guys have a CPLC. So it's nice to have someone from that group in your group, because sometimes they can help promote message consistency and accuracy and the validity of what's happening. And lastly, one thing I created, because some of us have those security signs, whether you really have a security monitoring or not. There's Avanti security, or Bell or Rogers, whatever. I decided to create a neighborhood watch sign, and it's just like one of those signs with the steel plastic thing that goes into the earth, and it says Neighborhood Watch, we call police. And when I started this, Chief Saunders was at a meeting with me, and he held it up and he said, you know, this is affecting a change. So these criminals, and quite often it can be organized criminal groups, will see that there's a change in this neighborhood because oh my God, Neighborhood Watch, they call police. Wow, what's happening here? And Chief Saunders said, you know what? They'll see this change and they may go to, sorry for the other neighborhood, but to a different neighborhood. So we're pushing them along and we are showing them that, you know what, enough is enough. We're doing something about this. I did start a website. It's called ourneighborhoodwatch.ca. It sort of gives some, you know, tips on how to do it, where you can get resources, and how to contact me. But yeah, basically, it's just I'm spreading the word, go across to the different divisions across the police in the city. I've now presented at the Toronto Police Services conference, which was like 3,000 officers, and they're taking this stuff and taking it back to their divisions because we are capturing criminals. We are helping them gather evidence, and we are making a change. And it's pretty simple to do. And it's amazing that it all kind of happened by accident. So yeah, the police needs the community and the community needs the police. I know, I'll just end with this. A lot of people are concerned about the car thefts and the carjackings. And I was invited by the deputy chief to go to the Ottawa National Auto Theft Summit, or whatever, to combat this crime, and the Peel Region one. And it was really wonderful. I was one of the only civilians there with RCMP, OPP, justice ministers, politicians. And one of the first things Trudeau said, I think he was actually only there for 5 minutes, but one of the first things he said was, let's stop these crimes from happening in the first place. And he said the only way to do that is community engagement. And Neighborhood Watch is a prime example of community getting together and affecting a change to, you know, prevent these, whatever it is in your neighborhood that's happening in the first place. So that's pretty much everything. I've met with Lily in her office, and sounds like you guys may be keen on starting some neighborhood watch groups. They can be 1 block, 2 blocks, 10 blocks. It just depends on what you feel like doing. And the group could be set up in 5 or 10 minutes.
Thank you, Dee Dee. We all thank you for spending this time with us and sharing your knowledge. And yeah, we want to open it up for Q&A. I'll start because I have a question. So it sounds to me like your group is like one-way communication. So when an incident happens, they send that to you, and you or your co-leads decide what information and how it's filtered to everybody else. So it's on a need to know basis, I guess, and it's not, there's no conversations or discussions happening. Is that correct?
Yes, like obviously, I mean, it depends what it is, but if it's something quite significant, obviously they call 911 first. You know, like if it's something in the middle of the night, I'm not going to get it because I don't, you know, I wake up at 8 or whatever, get on my computer at 8 and I get it. So they call police first and it's dealt with. But what happens is your neighborhood ends up knowing who the owner or the manager of the Google group is, and everybody knows it's me. So someone will send me an email or a text and say, hey, I had an attempted break and enter last night. I actually have some pictures, or, you know, I saw this or whatever. And I decide if I should make a post. And of course, something like that, I should make a post. I want people, my neighbors, to know that these people that are wearing Adidas shoes or like whatever it is, are in our neighborhood every night, for example, checking car doors. If your car is unlocked, it's a crime of opportunity. They're going to take something. Do not think that they are skipping a night. They are not. So I decide, you know, to share that. Listen, it's like I said, it's about being aware, communicating, and making a neighborhood more safe. So the word gets around quite quickly. Who's doing your Google group? It depends on how you want to market it and how you want to start it and get the word out there. But once people know, unfortunately, you're going to start hearing from your neighbors about incidents, and then you make a post.
Thank you, Dee Dee. I'm going to go to questions, but before I do, I just want to share that there are other ways that people do create these clusters. So West Lansing currently has a Facebook group, which means that there's no anonymity. Like you are there and you know who's talking. And there are discussions. They do focus only on community safety issues, so they don't allow other topics. So in that regard, they are restricting, and sometimes they've had to, I think, retract video that they shared. So there is some maybe dicier territory that can happen, but Facebook is another platform that some people have used to build a network, and myself.
And WhatsApp. A lot of people
WhatsApp.
use WhatsApp.
Yeah.
But
So
we have a Facebook group too in our neighborhood, and I just found the conversation too much. There's always negative and there's always positive. And honestly, I just didn't want to be a part of that. I just want people to know the facts. I get the facts from TV, from interviews, from police, from news media. I just want it out there, and I don't want to know what people think about it. And if you don't want to hear about it, then don't join the group. I want it to be simple. It's volunteer. I just want people to know.
Yeah, yes. And we know that Facebook groups can be very dramatic and become very political, if you will. So it's wise to draw parameters around this, especially along this issue. But it sounds like your community also has another group on Facebook where they do the, oh, we're having a street party, and they have a channel to do that. And in Willowdale, there are neighborhoods that don't have either. So there isn't a platform to talk about the neighborhood barbecue, and there isn't a platform to talk about safety. And so everyone can decide, like, do you want to keep it separate? Do you want to start? So for me, my group is a WhatsApp chat, and we talk about everything, but no one's spamming. So I guess, like, if it got to a certain point, then I would need to limit it. But at this point, it's actually quite silent until some certain things happen. And occasionally people share a picture of a cute raccoon, and that's okay. Like, as long as we're not getting 20 raccoon pictures every night, once every month or two, I'm okay with that. So, so every person can decide, like, what purpose you want your group to be, what platform, and maybe you can partner with. I really think it's great if you can partner with one or two other neighbors, because it's nicer. Like, it's great, Dee Dee, you had your kids to go around with you, but I know when I went door to door, I think I brought my kids too, actually. But when I tried to organize a neighborhood potluck barbecue, I went door to door with another neighbor. So it's nice to just have another person to walk around and converse with people. So I will
And
now.
listen, it's a great way to get to know your neighbors. I mean, the sense of community we have now is fantastic. I mean, it's led to many other non-criminal events and relationships, but it's a beautiful thing, especially post-COVID. I mean, I started this before COVID. Crime did not stop in COVID, so it kept going. But, you become grateful for, unfortunately, it did start with a horrific incident, but some good things have come out of it.
That's great. Okay, so we're on Q&A, and Natasha, your hand was up first, and then we'll be followed by Howard.
Yeah, thank you. So the reason I'm attending tonight is because of what Lily put out there, and as I'm a member of the BCNA Bayview Common Neighborhood Association, that we wanted to do something as the association. And I thought a couple of other people should be on this as well. I think Harriet is on there as well as a volunteer. So my first question, Lily, based on your experience, and I just need a yes and no because I want to tie back to Didi and ask her a question. Based on your experience with our area, do you recommend more of a Facebook approach or a Google approach for the neighborhood association? I just want your recommendation, which one? With
well,
your experience, because you
Yeah.
have a lot of interactions through the Facebook group,
Yeah,
and our Facebook, our association's Facebook has been dormant for some time. Obviously, people know this is a volunteer position, and we have been just not doing that as much, but we can activate it. And I just wanted to know, what is
Yeah.
your recommendation?
I actually think WhatsApp is really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's one. And then Didi, I want to know that if we can get back, I know you offered, but I don't know if it was just very polite. I want to actually say that as an association, I want to get back to you later separately, because we're getting some volunteers and getting a team to get this really going. A few people that I know personally around their area have had break-ins in the very short time previous. So it's just getting more and more. So if we get that out, it's good. And also we want to work with Silverview. So would you be available if we want to get back to you? Not with this whole group of 30 something, but me and the president, and just work this through and get some more pointers or share with you what we have and then get feedback from you.
Yep, Lily and Atifa and Molly, they all, well, you can just email me at info@ourneighborhoodwatch.ca.
I just wanted to have that permission.
Yeah.
And the third thing, and that's the last one, is that anyone here on the chat or in this webinar, which we have 30 people, I know Alberto is our member, anyone who is a member of the BCNA, if you could just send us an email to the BCNA email and say you're willing to help and participate, then we already have a map, we already have the blocks labeled with alphabet, which blocks have how many people. We've already done that. We just want to really sort this out as something that we can rely on. So anyone here who lives in the catchment, or even not, I mean, if you don't know the catchment, check the Bayview Common Neighborhood Association, but or if you're in the Silverview part, that's fine. We're going to work with them as well. Just send us an email through our email, which is at the website, or I can put it in the chat and let us know that you're willing to help and join.
The one thing that when you asked Lily, Natasha, about whether to use WhatsApp or Facebook or a Google group, you should decide amongst yourselves whether you want to have conversations or not.
Yeah, that conversation part, I like your approach because as you said, I don't want to deal with emotions.
People can reply to me and say, oh my goodness, I saw that guy on Friday and I have a picture. And then I can decide whether to repost it to the 100 people in my group. But it's not going back and forth. So if you want to encourage conversations, that is great. There's benefits to that. WhatsApp and Facebook are good for that.
But can't we restrict WhatsApp as well?
I don't know.
You can do,
I think you can do that. You can just have admin and
and actually what you could do, and Molly could show you how to do it, is you can segment in WhatsApp. So currently with the Avondale community, we have a group working on a farmer's market. We have a group working on traffic. So they have a master WhatsApp group, and then there's subgroups that people can be a part of, and you could create a neighborhood watch piece of that is one directional. So people could join the neighborhood watch piece, and it could be one directional, but then, there is a workload to that because Didi has to vet every message that comes to her and decide if it's going out. So,
I don't get that many messages. I mean, yes, there's break and enters, there's car thefts like almost every other day. In fact, I don't even post all of them now because we all know it's happening. And it's been a good year and a half. So I've sent the crime prevention tips. I've sent, what you can do. But like 2 nights ago, there was a car theft. I'm not going to tell people unless we have video, because then it's important for people to check their videos. But it sounds like a lot of work, but I'm not making that many posts, like definitely once a month. But if there's something interesting or new going on in the neighborhood, there might be a few that week or two, and then it dies off. But it sounds like I'm a lot, but it really isn't. Just to make that clear, this is not a lot of work. It really isn't.
That's great. That's great. I'm sure a lot of people are glad to hear that.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna pass the baton to Howard now.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Dee Dee, first of all. That was very informative. I guess the thing I wanted to talk about or bring up is earlier there was mentioned that we talked about doorbell cameras, like the Ring cameras, and I guess I'm acknowledging that there's a need to reduce crime and make our neighborhoods safer, but I also feel pretty uneasy about kind of the proliferation of these just essentially like cameras that are kind of facing everywhere, right? It's kind of facing the street, and you're strangers walking down the street. You could be you could be recorded, right? So just from the basic privacy perspective, I'm kind of uneasy about that, and especially if the data is being collected by Amazon, Google, and these big tech companies who are feeding them in the footage into AI, maybe who knows, right? So I'm just pretty wary about kind of the over surveillance of the public space. Yeah.
Well, and this is all new to me as well. And honestly, everything I do, I get guidance from Toronto Police Services, because they are the experts in what the laws are and what's allowed. In fact, they're the ones that have taught me about the privacy laws, that if I'm going to post a picture of someone that broke into my house, I have to blur their face. Even though they broke into my house and stole my stuff, I have to blur their face.
Right.
But, all I can say is people, I mean, technically these cameras have to be on your own property. Like, you can't just go put a camera in a park. I think we all know that. But, I can't really comment on that legally. I mean, I totally agree. I mean, I walk up in my neighborhood all the time, and I'm sure in fact, there was one time where I actually had to go to someone and say, "Oh my God, could you please prove that I walked by your house at this time and that day?" Yeah, I mean, this is the world we live in. There's a fine line between protecting ourselves and, I mean, we as residents have our own laws, to protect ourselves. But at the same time, there are privacy laws about cameras, and these criminals have their own rights. So I'd have to say, just do what you're comfortable with. Speak to your local officers. I mean, you can even ask lawyers. There's lots of lawyers who have opinions on this. Different countries, I forget which one it is. I think it's England. They have cameras everywhere. Everywhere.
I think so, yeah.
And I thought I heard in the news a few months ago that Canada was thinking about it, or maybe it was America or whatever. But again, that's a political conversation I don't want to get involved with, right? I just know that the pictures our cameras have captured with guys, individuals breaking in, opening your car doors or whatever it is, have led police to criminals and arrests.
Right.
But I get what you're saying about if you're walking by on the street and your habits and Google and the safety. I can't comment on that.
Yeah, it's like a balance, right? I don't really know.
It is a balance.
Line,
and this is the crazy life. And look at AI, where's that going to take us? So it's, I understand your question.
So I have
thank
a
you.
question, if it's okay. There are people on this call who live in a high rise, And what is the, I guess, version of this in a high-rise setting? Is it just the same thing, like setting up a network, looking out for each other? I know, you know, they too also do have people sneaking in behind when you're, you know, getting into the building. People follow you in, and I know that's led to some crime before. So
Yeah, so I have started they're called vertical neighborhood watches. You know, they're apartments, they're condos. There's all different kind of high-rise organizations and groups that run these residences. So a lot of them have their own, I guess you could call it a board, like a board. They meet, you know, and they set the rules. I did come up with neighborhood watch signs that are stickers, so that there was one building that they were getting a lot of people just walking in, and they just got a whole bunch of these stickers and plastered them everywhere to say, hey, we're watching. We know that you people are just coming in and whatever. And of course, a lot of them have cameras. So I leave that to, yes, I can come in and I can help them start these neighborhood watch groups. Sometimes they just do it floor by floor, or people that they know, because sometimes it's renters, or sometimes, you know, there's a lot more movement. But that is all usually led by what their boards or their, you know, organizations that meet monthly are comfortable with. But I have set up vertical neighborhood watch groups. They work the same way. It's just more like it's all online, you know. So whether you're in a tall building or a house or a duplex or a sixplex or whatever they're called, doesn't matter. It all works the same.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? No, I think Dee, you've done a fantastic job being very clear about what this is and how to go about it. So, you know, think about it. There's 30 of us here in this virtual space, and even if half of us take action, like 15 of us go out and try to build a network, I think we're going to build a safer community that we're all looking out for each other. And so thank you, Dee Dee, for your, you know, the generosity of sharing your advice, and everyone can visit her website to find out more information. You can contact my office as well. And so we're gonna yeah, so let's all give Dee Dee a round of applause for appreciation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so
And thanks
much.
for coming and listening.
Yeah, and so we're gonna end off with a lucky draw. And you know, something I started with COVID, and unfortunately, because I'm a counselor and my schedule is very busy, I haven't found a way to do it since I got elected, but I think it's something that was very meaningful, is I would have a potluck barbecue on my driveway, intentionally on the driveway, so that people can see and just walk by and join who are in the community. So, you know, we hope that this lucky draw will help you, you know, what can $100 buy? Well, you know, we could buy some hot dogs, it could buy some dessert, but actually I went to another front yard potluck in on Points last summer, and it was wonderful. It was a delicious event. And so I'm hoping that, you know, this little lucky draw will spur some people to organize a little meetup. And so I checked the draw. Okay, so we're gonna do a lucky draw and see who wins. So Molly, take it away.
Sure thing. Yeah, just before I do, I'm just going to go over a couple rules that we have. This draw is only open to Willowdale residents, so and we will ensure that that is verified, obviously. So we will make sure that we only reward the gift card once the planning for the barbecue or your block party has been finalized. You have a date, you have a location, and our office will support with permitting your street to have this party, and help with the posters or designs if you need as well. So yeah, if at this point you would like to still enter your name, it's not too late. I can maybe give you a couple more seconds to put your name in your chat. And all right, Kathy does not want to be in the draw. Let me see here. Don't believe you're in here. Okay.
I don't know if I
And,
put my name in when I registered, so I don't remember.
yes. Oh, sorry. 1 second.
While you're doing that, Molly, I will tell a story of an Instagram reel maybe that I saw the other day. And it was a guy in China. I think he was a reporter, and he was doing a report on the video surveillance of the government there. And so he basically challenged the police, like, I'm going to take a train to an unknown destination, and like, how long will it take you to find me? So they scanned his face in the station. He went out, and I think like within the day they found him somewhere in another, like at another train station. So it was quite remarkable. And, I think most people don't want to live in that state, but then people who are really afraid might feel like, oh, like if you're not doing anything wrong and you can find the people who are doing something wrong really quickly, there's always a trade-off, as people say. But I thought that was super, maybe a little frightening, how fast the AI face reading technology is now. And the fact that a whole government is in. Thank you everyone for being part of this. So please keep us posted how you're doing. And let us know, if you need support going door to door in your area. We do have volunteers that we can mobilize in the community as well. And, we look forward a year from now to hear how planting the seed, like how many little clusters have grown in our neighborhood. So thank you, everyone, and have a great evening.
Oh, Lilies, just before you go,
Yeah.
you guys are recording this. Would this be available?
Yes, I think so.